All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hurt Business Podcast. And we got a special one today, as we say for all our guests, but this one's a reoccurring one, so it's especially special. We have today this number 2 ranked active welterweight in New England, Mr. Jojo Giannetti, who's fighting this Saturday at Cage Titans, and we're excited to talk about it. Appreciate your time, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. A little sweaty. Just finished a good workout. I rested yesterday instead of today, so I had to make up for it. But now that that's over with, I feel good and I can relax for the rest of the night.
Hell yeah, man. Getting mean and lean and mean for this Saturday, huh?
Yes, sir. It feels good being at 170.
Yeah, well, let's start there, man. Because when we first did our interview, you were at 55 or 50, right?
55, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then this jump to welterweight. Talk about that, man. How does that feel physically, mentally?
It feels great. I mean, so after my last fight, I was planning on honestly taking the rest of the summer off, maybe the rest of the year, for no other reason other than it's really expensive for me to put on these fight camps that I put on. Between sponsors and myself, like that's how my fight camps get funded. I go across the country to California and train at AKA, and I either live in my bus that I converted, or the last camp out there, I lived in my car for 5 weeks, and then luckily one of my friends had bought a house, so I was able to stay with him for the last 2 weeks out there. But even in just my car, it's expensive. California's expensive, travel's expensive. And, this fight came around. Trevor beat one of my coaches who hadn't fought in like 10 years and was kind of feeling himself about it. I didn't really like the way he carried himself over the win. Not to say it's not a big deal to beat him, but it's also one of those things where it's like the guy picked you after 10 years off. Like he didn't pick a slouch. So it's like put some respect on somebody that's been fighting since before me and him even put gloves on. And like no disrespect to him, I just didn't think it's a necessary fight to have to put myself through paying to get out to AKA. Not that I could if I wanted to, but just it's also a mental reset. I haven't had a summer in the last 2 years. Last summer I stayed at AKA for 2.5 months and didn't see my girlfriend, my friends, my family. And then half the summer I was gone. So being at home, training with my friends, seeing my girlfriend and my family, mentally I'm in a great spot. And because I just had that camp at AKA a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I'm still physically in a great spot. Now I just get to eat a couple extra steaks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely good, man. It's and if people don't know, AKA it's a very, very notable gym. You get guys like Habib that train out of there. I'm sure he trains guys in there quite a bit. I'm sure you've seen him as well.
Last camp he was running every class last camp. He ran a circuit around every day. Yeah.
Damn, how was that? Like
that was the hardest camp of my life for sure. And it was bittersweet. My last fight when my opponent pulled out, it was supposed to be at 155, and then I got a last minute replacement on short notice, which I was thankful for, but it was at 165, which like in the moment was like cool. I get to eat a little bit more, but I was on such a perfect track to make 55 again and piss off the haters that I was like, damn, all right, we'll wait till next time. And now I'm fighting at 170, so we'll wait till the one after this.
Yeah. And those who don't know, he's fighting for the vacant 170 belt, right?
Yes, sir.
So two division champ coming soon.
Champ status?
Yes, sir. Champ status.
Okay.
Yes,
There's a nice ring to it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
is that like the first time in Cage Titans history? Do you know?
Yes, I would be the first one. So they told me I was the first one to win the amateur belt and then go on to win the pro belt in the same weight class. And now if I win Saturday, I'll be the first one to be professional champ at Cage Titans.
Wow.
My guy Jojo doing big things out here, man. UFC got to be calling, man. You
we got to make a statement. We got to let them know.
Hell yeah, man. Your last one was a great one, man. I was telling Josh about it like last week whenever we were starting to prepare for the pod. The finish was crazy. For the people who weren't there and haven't seen the clip, basically, Jojo's fighting this dude. They're on the ground. You look over and it looks like you say something to somebody in the audience, and then you finish the submission.
Wild.
So it was one of my coaches, my coach Tyler. He doesn't even like when I call him a coach. He's a buddy of mine. We train together, and he was telling me to stuff the head, spin behind, work back control, work your hooks, and beat the hell out of him. But I didn't even have my arm around his neck yet, but just the way that he was sitting there trying to drive that single leg, and the way I had my hip down, I knew I could get it at any point. So I was like, I have it. And he was like, what? And I was like, no, I have it. Like, I'll like, you say, yeah, I'm going for it. And he was like, all right, go for it. And then I grabbed his neck. And after the fight, he was like, you didn't have it when you asked, did you? And I was like, no, but I knew I'd have it. So I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to be pissed if I didn't listen.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting clip. People, we'll put it on the Instagram so people can see that again. But yeah, I mean, I guess like, since we're on the talk of the whole 170, last time we spoke with you, you fought for the 155, which you won. So that was great. So what do you feel like? How do you feel overall? Do you feel like what certain areas do you feel like you've gotten better at since the last time we spoke, which was about a year ago? It almost seems like, right?
Yeah, I think almost exactly a year, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere close. When I fought for the belt originally, it was the end of August last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like that camp the last time we talked, I was so confident, and I'm even more confident now. And not because of like what type of opponent I'm fighting or the matchup, but just because I know the sacrifices that I've made in the last year and the year prior to that even, and I know how hard I've been pushed. Like I said, every time I've gone on to AKA in the last year has been the hardest time in my life, the hardest training sessions. And this last trip out to AKA was by far the hardest. And if I have a harder camp after this, it's going to suck. I'm looking forward to the results, but it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And like I said, being able to come home and I'm fighting again, but I get to see my family and my friends and everything. It's like I said, it's almost like a mental reset. So it's like my confidence is still growing and my skills are still growing. And I think it's something that before my comeback, after the two losses at LFA, I kind of hit this wall. Like I wasn't getting better. And it sounds weird to say, like, you almost have to consciously force yourself to get better. Like you can't just show up and put in the work, which like, coming up, that's what I always did. Put your head down, bust your ass, work as hard as you can, and like you'll win and you'll get better. And that happened for a majority of my career. And then, I took a couple losses and I didn't know what was going on because I was busting my ass. It wasn't a lack of hard work, but it's just, you have to consciously try and get better. It's not like I never wanted to get better. I just wasn't. And now it's like every day I'm constantly trying to get better, doing shit that I'm bad at. And I tell people all the time that train with me on the daily or people that train with me for the first time, because I see it. They don't say it, but I see it. We'll train together and they always kind of give me this look like, that guy? Like they see me fight and they train with me and it's like two different people. And it's because I'm working stuff that I'm bad at every single day. And so, I get my ass kicked every single day. Guys that kind of just train as a hobby, guys that don't ever want to fight but train consistently, whoop my ass in the gym all the time. Yeah. And they're like, how the hell is this guy like a winning fighter? How is he successful? And I don't do the things that I'm really, really good at. I force myself to do things I'm bad at. I work out of bad positions. I get tapped out in the gym all the time. And it's just always funny when I see somebody, another local fighter, hey man, we got to get work together. And then they whoop my ass in the gym and they're like, huh. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to beat you with stuff I'm bad at. And they look at me confused. And I know some people don't believe me when I say it because they think it's almost an ego thing. Like, yeah, he needs an excuse. But it's like, dude, I get beat up every day. I don't need an excuse. I have no ego when it comes to the gym. As long as I win my fight on fight night and I get my check, I don't give a shit about what happens in the gym.
Amen.
It's all that matters, right? Just getting the dub. No, that's really interesting, man. Yeah, I guess that kind of ties in to just kind of having a good mentality. You seem like you've always had a good mentality, even back then. So that's kind of, it definitely translates when you fight in there, man, because you're a very interesting guy and your style is very unique as well. I meant to ask you, I didn't ask you this last time I seen you. How often do you spar and do you like sparring?
I spar when I go out to AKA. Okay. Other than that, I probably spar like once a week, and it's super light, and it's only usually because other guys are like, wow, I need to get some rounds, and I haven't sparred in a while, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a couple rounds. I'm not a huge fan of sparring. I'm a fan of playing tag with punches and kicks, as we call it. I mean, but it's another thing I try to tell guys, sparring is the same way. You have to spar and try to consciously get better. Guys try to win the round when they spar, and they don't get better. They eat punches they shouldn't eat. They land stuff that normally wouldn't land. And it's usually in 16-ounce gloves. But in 4-ounce gloves, they don't remember any shot can put you out. The dumbest punch, just a little glance off the chin or off the temple, and you're unconscious in something that you've probably been hit with a million times in sparring. And that's just like, it's like that Russian roulette feeling that you need to know that at any point you can spin the barrel and it's loaded. And guys don't spar like that. They just go out and oh, I took that punch, I'm fine. Now let me land this one. And, best guys in the world can be having the best rounds ever, and it's still not realistic. So I just feel like you can have a really hard sparring round without hard strikes. Like my hardest rounds are rounds where guys are hitting me in the body hard on the ground, and we have to grapple, and I have to work my way up, and then we can strike. But hard striking and sparring, when you get to a certain level of striking, I just honestly think it's pointless. And more, you see guys at the top of the sport saying, best guys in boxing. I made a post about this recently. I became I'm a huge bandwagon, I'll admit it. Teofimo Lopez, I jumped on the bandwagon after he beat Loma, and I didn't even follow his career close enough to know that he was fighting a couple weeks ago. And we were at my buddy's house watching UFC. UFC ended, and then they started talking about his fight. And I was like, oh, he's fighting tonight? That's awesome. He's a killer. And then everybody on Top Rank starts tearing into him about how he didn't spar for more than 2 weeks for his camp. He was like, yeah, I sparred the first 2 weeks of my camp, and then I didn't spar at all. And I'm seeing the greats of boxing just being like, oh, he needs to put more work in. He's not working hard enough. He's got to be careful, da-da-da-da. And then he goes out and wins by knockout in the 7th and looked fantastic. It's just a new age. And I'm not saying that it's that way for everybody. That's why we love the sport. Everything's different from everybody. But I think for striking, at least, you're going to see the best guys sparring less and less. And you need to spar starting out. You need to, as stupid as it sounds, you need to know what punches you can take, what bad positions to work out of. But eventually, you need to work your way out of that. You got to phase out. There's other exercises to get better at striking: bag work, shadow boxing, line drills, pad work. And I think the older guys in the sport aren't ready to transition to that yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like that in every sport, where the old heads are always in denial and they're not ready for the new wave and the more smarter.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the biggest thing I see, like, I used to follow, before I found MMA, I used to follow like every sport. And now I just kind of dabble with everything, and I'm just hardcore following MMA as a fan and a fighter. But like, I still see like basketball, the NBA, the amount of times I hear, oh, well, he'd never survive in this day and age, and this, and this. And it's like, the guys nowadays are such freak athletes compared to the guys back then. Not saying those guys weren't great. Michael Jordan's one of my favorite basketball players of all time. But the science we have now with recovery and supplements and all that stuff, the athleticism nowadays is unreal. And 20 years from now, they're going to be saying that about that time compared to now.
100% agree.
It's just an evolving thing. It's better and better with time. I want to resort this conversation back to AK for a sec, because at the beginning you talked about Khabib and him running the sessions. And for me, Khabib is like top 5, just all-time athletes, just across the board, every sport. Like, that's one of the GOATs for me. So without giving up too much that you learned or any specific things that you kind of want to hide from the public, what are some little pointers and things you learned just from the way he approaches the game and mentally, and his preparation and stuff, and the way he teaches?
I mean, mentality wise, it's just one of those things where it's like, when an ounce of doubt starts to creep in, you just have to ask yourself how hard you worked, and if you worked as hard as you could. And if you did, like, if there's nothing else you can do, then there's nothing to worry about, because stressing is not going to change it. Go do what you do your best, and whatever happens, happens. And it's funny because even before, I've worked with Khabib before. I sparred with him when he was getting ready for McGregor. He whooped my ass. We weren't super close. I was just a body getting thrown in to help him out. And but the last camp out there, and more so the last camp, but even the one before that, we kind of got closer and closer. And this last time out there, he was messing with me. We were joking around and stuff. So we got kind of close. But before that, I was trying to get myself to that mentality, because I think honestly, not to diminish or make excuses for any of my losses, but every loss that I have, I can honestly say that I didn't perform to the best of my ability. And I know that's the goal. It's the goal for my opponent to do his thing and stop me from doing my thing. But with that being said, I know that all 4 of my losses, I walked into the locker room and went, my gym's on a timer. Don't mind that.
All good.
No worries.
But I knew that all 4 of those losses, I walked into the locker room and I was like, that was about 50% of my skill. That was about 50% of my technique. I didn't do any of the things right. I didn't do my best. And the majority of them it was all mental. It was just, I was stressed about, like, did he work harder than me? Is he better than me here? Is he going to beat me here, here, and here? And when I took that year off, I made it a point and a promise to myself. I wrote it down that no matter what happens moving forward, every fight I'm going to do my best, whether I have the best camp or the worst camp. And we've seen that recently. My second to last fight, I had one of the worst camps ever. And I just kept telling myself, you're going to do the best you can with what you have. And Javier Mendez out of AKA is also somebody I can attribute that to, because as I'm trying to align myself with that mindset, I've got Khabib chirping in my ear about it. And then I'll never forget, second to last camp, I had one of the worst sparring days ever. I got my ass kicked bell to bell. And like I said, I normally don't mind, but it was certain positions that I usually thrive, just didn't. Nothing went right. And I felt horrible going into practice. And Javier even said, are you sure you want to spar if you don't feel well? And I was like, no, I need to push through it. I got to know that I can. And I was furious after the rounds, throwing my gloves. And he came over to me and he was like, listen, you got to just do your best. You can't expect yourself to give 100% if your body can only give 75%. But if 75% is your best, you give 75%, and what happens, happens. It's all that's physically possible. And you just can't beat yourself up about it. And it's just, like I said, aligned with what I've been trying to mentally put myself through. So every fight since then and going forward, whether it's the best or worst camp, I'm going to give it my all. And when I get out, I'm going to have nothing to hang my head on. Whether I get knocked out unconscious, choked unconscious, win in 5 seconds, I don't care. I will not hang my head because I'll put everything into that fight.
Mm. Yeah, that is a incredible mindset, man. But mind you guys, this guy's only 27 years old. I know you don't look at it like that, but you kind of.
I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a while, man. But at 27, that is a crazy mentality to have, man, to kind of go into the sport this way. But that just shows the maturity, right? The maturity and just kind of being in the fight game for a while now.
Yeah, and I think that's and I said this before, and it might have just been hopeful thinking, but like, you know, when I got cut after the Ultimate Fighter finale, I was like, you know, even if it's a lie, let's just say Dana saw something and he knew I had to mature. And, you know, there's no point of killing my career off by fighting UFC killers at 22 when I wasn't ready. Yeah. So that's what I told myself for a while. Whether it's true or not nowadays, I don't care because it's happened. I've matured, and I've made a lot of improvements, and they're just going to keep coming.
Amen. That's the most important thing. You kept getting better with all this time. So that 22 version of yourself is not the same JoJo that's going to pull up in the UFC next year. You know what I mean?
I killed that 22-year-old version. And when I was 22, I always wanted to get better, but I thought I was on my way to be one of the best. And I was, but just a lot slower than I thought.
Yeah, everybody has their road, man. Well, that's a fun question. Let me ask. If this version of Giannetti fought the 22 version, how does that fight go down?
Oh my God, it would be vicious. You would need a Spencer to take that kid out of there. It'd be so bad.
like first round KO. We talked
like first round. I probably knocked myself out in like a minute.
Wow.
Because other me just would probably shell up under the big lights and get in his own head. And you know, me, it's just I don't care who's across from me. I sparred with the best guys in the world. You know, Khabib's cousin Usman's fighting for the Bellator lightweight title in October. I sparred with him all throughout my last camp. He's about to become one of the best lightweights in the world.
Yeah.
And I do rounds with him, so I don't care about any of these guys that step across from me.
Yeah.
That's one guy Josh has said on our podcast so many times that it's like the future of the lightweights.
Stop it.
It's unreal.
Yeah,
he's a killer, man.
Yeah, he's incredible, man. I've been saying for a while because I've been watching his career like very closely, and I can. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act like anybody could have said it. Like this guy was gonna be fighting for a championship belt 2 years ago, but yeah, that guy is absolutely incredible. Like, just that level of wrestling is damn. Like it's like nobody has figured that style out yet, right? Like the Dagestani style of wrestling, it's like very interesting. Like nobody's kind of figured out how to get around it.
I mean, he can strike too, man. I think it's something that a lot of people have sleeping on just by seeing his last name. Oh, another Nurmagomedov, here's another wrestler, da da da. And it's funny because his second to last fight, he went out and he's like, I want to show everybody I'm a grappler. And then he knees the guy in the stomach and finishes him. And he was actually pissed. That's how he won. He wanted to show off his grappling. Yeah. And then lucky enough, but there you go. His last fight, he wins with the same choke that I won with. So I tagged him on Instagram. I was messing with him. I was like, oh, I did teach you something.
That's what's up.
He's a wicked cool dude. Like I said, just like Khabib. Like he was another big part of my last camp. Just a lot of the best people and best athletes on the planet, just all having my back at that gym. That's why I love AKA. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You talked about Javier Mendez earlier and how much has he been in the DMs this training camp, kind of giving you some words of encouragement?
No, Javier's kind of like low key. Like when I'm not in California, he's super low key. And I always start to think, I'm like, does he even see my stuff? But it's funny, so a couple fights ago, I did unfortunately miss weight. And one of the first things he said when I came back was like, hey, you gonna make weight this time? And I was like, you saw that? And he was like, we see everything. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, we're watching.
But he's always watching, he always, after my fights, he'll always send me a message, good job, a couple days later, work on this. So, he might not say much until right after the fight, but Javier and all them are always watching.
You'd be a fool to miss a Joe Giannetti fight. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
You'd be a fool.
People are learning more and more.
Amen.
Yeah, that's why we're here, man. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's kind of revert to next week, man. I mean, so you're fighting this guy. He's 6'7". He's 4-2. Pretty tall guy. What kind of things are you expecting, man? Do you kind of look at? I know you said you've kind of looked at him a little bit. You kind of know who he is. What sort of things are you expecting next week, man?
My favorite thing, because a couple people have asked me that, like my friends and family, like close to me, like, oh, how do you feel fighting a tall guy and all this stuff? And my favorite thing, and I think my last 3 fights prior to this one, I think I'm being underestimated. There's just certain things in the way guys, whether it's if they mean it or not, the way they post on social media, the way they talk to me when we do, interviews at the same time over Zoom and all this stuff. Like I can tell when someone's overlooking me and trying to pretend they're not. And I think I'm being underestimated again, which I love. Keep underestimating me. It drives me that much more and makes it mean that much more when I win. But I think this is just going to be another one of those performances where I just mop the floor with him. I'm just so prepared. And I think that I'm so underestimated that I don't think he will, but I think people in the crowd will make excuses. He had an off night. Oh, he only just got caught with this or that. Like I said, it's just one of those things where I should be the underdog. I guess I'm coming up a weight class. He's heavier. He's taller. He's got longer reach. But I don't know, man. It just feels like it's my time. I'm putting all the work in. Whether it is or isn't, we'll know Saturday night. But I just feel like it's my time. I've still got guys in the UFC on my hit list. So we've got to take care of these guys first and make a point. We got to get the UFC to come back to Boston. We got to sell at the Garden. There's a lot of things that need to be done before I'm done in this game.
Yes, we do, man. Yes, we do.
How electric would that arena be, man? In the TD, JoJo headlining.
They don't even know. They have no idea. I tell DC and Khabib, and we all laugh and joke about it. But like these people don't understand that we would sell the Garden out so fast, easily, and it would be the highlight of my life. I could win, whether it's the prelims, the co-main, or the main event. If I win a fight at the TD Garden, I could die the next morning with a smile on my face. Like I grew up a Boston sports fan. Before I found MMA, diehard Red Sox, diehard Celtics, diehard Bruins, diehard Patriots. Fighting at a place like that would be legendary.
Amen, absolutely, man. And it would be legendary for us to watch you, man. That would be super special, watching the rise and eventually getting you in that spot one day. And also allow me just to say, I don't want to hear no excuses from the fans that Trevor should have did X or Y or Z.
Stop it.
Let's give flowers when they're due. Let's appreciate dominance when that does happen. So luckily I will be in attendance this Saturday. I'll be in the arena. So for me and everybody else out there, what should we expect?
Fireworks. Same thing you've been seeing in the last 3 fights. Aggression, dominance. Even if I don't dominate, I'm not going to back up. I'm not going to cower. I'm not going to quit. And you can expect my best. That's what I bring every time. And it gets better and better every time. So I'm looking forward to going out there. And I'm looking forward to getting another belt on this shoulder and giving some company to that one over there.
Look at that thing.
Amen. Add it to the display case, man. Hey, can we bring that so whenever you do it, we can have both belts on the shoulders and everything? Hell yeah. Can we make that happen?
Yes.
Hell yeah. Well, I can't wait to see it, man. This has been great. I feel like that's a perfect way to end this off and close out on that note. Joe, tell the people where they can find you, socials.
At Giannetti MMA everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I'm all over the place. I'll be live on YouTube all the time playing Call of Duty and Fortnite, getting absolutely destroyed by 10-year-olds. But it's a good time. So come hang out.
Hey man, and Fortnite got the whole Goku situation this
Oh,
season. They're
I'm
doing
all
big
in, bro.
things.
You have no idea. I'm all in on the Dragon Ball Z. Day
Yeah.
one, bought all the skins.
Oh man,
I'm
I
like
don't blame
hiding. I'm
you.
like my girl's home, and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything. We dropped $50 in Fortnite real quick.
I don't blame you, man. Like once you buy one, you just like I need the next one, and then the next one.
Yeah, we can't leave Vegeta out of this. And
Right.
we got Beerus over here. I get him too.
Crazy, man. That's how they get us. But Joe, man, appreciate the time, brother. After the fight, let's get back on here, man. And I look forward to hopefully
Hell
meeting
yeah.
you on Saturday.
Yes, sir. I'll see you there.
All right, buddy. You be good,
Good
man.
job.
You too. Thank you, guys.